Hi, and this is my diet. I'm making a quick note here that I drink about between 2,500 milliliters and 3 liters per day, and then I'll drink extra if there's a certain scenario, like a lot of work or something. And this is just going to show the rice quantity. And so I'm setting down the kitchen scale and pouring in the rice because that gets cooked every day. This is the first thing I'll do in the morning. So I have water going for the rice and the tea. I'll probably have an extra half a liter to a liter for things like injury or something like that, working really hard, and maybe if it's really cold or hot too. So I just figure what 2 to 3 liters looks like per day and just add on top of that based on what's happening. So here is a dump of the rice in there, and I've set the setting down to 2 as opposed to, I think it's 10 or something, as opposed to boiling on full. And I get my freezer pack out because this food will last me pretty much all day. It's got to last till dinner. And now I'm pulling out the boiled vegetables and boiled split pea. So this is going to be cooked split pea, unlike the rice, which was a dry quantity. I just made adjustments for which would be which. And so I just pour wet food into here. And I had to check to see, because I have the same amount of vegetables every day at 400 grams, how much split pea was going in. So here's the 70 grams or so. And I'm adding salt, 1 to 2, that is 1.2 grams. There's already salt in the protein powder that I'll be eating, which covers most of my daily intake. I'll have about half the amount of calories I eat per day in sodium milligrams. So I pour the salt on the food, and I eat this first because vegetables will spoil during the day, I find, especially in the heat. And then I get the rice ready, and there's no water in that pot. It's just fully cooked rice. I'm pretty good with portioning that out. Next is the protein powder. Now I'm just putting out as much protein powder as is on that piece of paper. And next will be the flax powder, so that's the number on the right, the 31. The other one was peanut butter. They fall in the same category for the nuts. Of a total quantity of nuts, about 18% could be flaxseed for omega-3. Here I'm focusing on mixing it up so it's nice and thorough, and get enough water in there. It doesn't matter if you get too much. And one more point is that the omega-3s that you get from flaxseed are definitely important. Peanut butter won't give you that alone. This is back to the nut category, so 141 grams go in. It's a little hard to get the spoon in there, especially if the peanut butter is cold, so you may want a large metal ladle. That's a pretty good trick, or just a very large spoon. And that should be it for having to use the kitchen scale from this point on. I figure it's good to know what you're going to eat every day in some regards, because you want to know that every day you are heading towards something that you have planned in terms of your goals. So anyway, at least you know that all your food is balanced and you're getting what your body needs. So it's good to know that these foods will cover everything pretty well. And the reason there are different categories on the chart is because I might want a higher calorie, and it even switched over to other carb amounts. This one's the highest carb because I'm injured right now. I hurt myself snowboarding. So that's typically it. I just want to know that I'm headed in the right direction for how many calories. So if I'm trying to gain weight or lose weight, and am I getting enough carbs for recovery? And otherwise, I made it so each one of those plans that had vertical columns of numbers, each of them had enough protein in them. So as long as I stuck to whatever plan for the day, it would fit. And a way to find out how to do this for yourself is by watching my video, and I explain how to make a program for yourself in Excel. It just takes a whole lot less time to do it yourself, and it's something I've found that AI can't do. I can't remember so many numbers, and you'll find that at least nowadays with ChatGPT, it wasn't working quite well. So this is a way of doing it yourself. Also, it's a little easier to check your own work than it is to go back constantly and try to pair things up with what AI is doing, I find. Especially if it's in Excel and it's all on one sort of screen in front of you. You don't even have to scroll too far, if at all. And you get all the numbers in front of you in terms of how much food. And that's not to say that I won't eat other types of foods. Of course, with this, I can change up the type of nut butters and the types of vegetables, and I even make a point of having another juice later on, and that can be any type of juice, or it can also be fruit. It doesn't matter too much if you go a little higher in fiber, but that was also one of my points, was to get enough fiber. So I'm making sure that I get basically on the line of how much fiber, so I'm getting absolutely as much fiber as makes sense to me, which is something like 14 grams per 1,000 calories. So that's just one of the ways I'm thinking. Anyway, this is for breakfast. I eat like 2/5 of this container, then 3, and then over lunch I eat another kind of 3/10 of the whole lot. One more fifth of this container, and I'll explain this in a moment. And the rest is dinner. But basically, it's roughly having about 1/3 for breakfast, 1/3 for lunch, and 1/3 for dinner. This has been my meal plan, and thank you for watching.